Greetings friends and welcome to Hearthstone. I have gotten into the beta, I have been having a ton of fun, and I want to bring this show, or this game, onto our channel as a show, and I want to play it a lot, and I think it's a lot of fun, and I think that you'll enjoy it too. So today I'm going to run through some of the basics. You can see I did get some packs. This is for us to open later to kind of give you a cross-section of cards, but we'll talk about that in a second. But right now we're just going to jump straight into a practice game. I've got an intro deck. It's just a very basic, you know, just random, run-of-the-mill, pretty generic cards. Let's go ahead and fight. How about a priest? We fight a lot of priests in matchmaking. Right now I'm going to be jumping into the this is like the practice AI mode. I'm just going to be fighting a computer. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because I want you to get a feel for it, and rather than having to sit there and think and concentrate as you would have to do whenever you are fighting against a real player, this is just a computer, and I should be able to win this pretty handedly, or pretty easily, pretty, don't know the word I'm looking for there. Okay, so we're just going to be running through the mechanics of the game, how it works. I want to introduce it to you. Honestly, I want to get you invested in the game. I want to get you interested in it so I can play it a lot, because the more you like the game, the more I get to play it. You see how that works out? It's kind of a nice little system we got going on. So the first thing that you're seeing here is you start out with, if you go first, you start out with 3 cards. Now, it's offering me, basically, I can mulligan these cards. So, say I really don't want that Iron Fur Grizzly. I would get rid of it, and then I would redraw another card. The Kobold Geomancer and Arcane Explosion is kind of an interesting combo here. Well, I guess we should first look at the mechanics. So 3 mana, and you can see here in kind of the background we have the 0 out of 0 mana. We'll get to that in a second. But this card to cast would cost 3 mana, and then it has 3 damage, 3 health, and then it is a beast. It has a subtext that is a beast, and then any effect that the card would have would appear here. So this one has taunt. In this game, well, we'll run through it, but basically you're forced to attack him, is basically what that is. Then you see over here, Arcane Explosion. This is a spell card. It would cost 2 mana to cast this spell. The spell does deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, so now that's pretty cool. Now, right here in our opening hand, we have a great example of a cool little combo that you can do. This Kobold Geomancer is 2 mana for a 2/2, but then he has spell damage +1, which basically says all spells do 1 extra damage. So whenever we would Arcane Explode, if he's on the field, this Arcane Explosion would deal 2 damage instead of 1 damage. This is actually a pretty good starting hand. I don't want to have to get rid of this, but just for the sake of the video, because we are fighting an AI, I'm going to get rid of the Iron Fur Grizzly so you can kind of see how the mechanic works. And we picked up an Ogre Magi. Look at his double-headed beauty. I wonder if they get in fights, like who's the more beautiful one. Right off the bat, we got a Voodoo Doctor. I'm going to save him because he has an interesting effect, Battle Cry, which basically means whenever he enters the battlefield, when he enters the battlefield, restore 2 health to anything I want. Well, there's nothing that needs heals right now, so we're not going to play him. We're going to kind of save him, and you know what? Actually, let's just go ahead and play him. So then you can see I get this arrow here, and then say my champion, my hero, was missing health, so then I'd be able to restore 2 health. But 30 is your maximum health, so no health. I'm not going to gain any extra health. I can't heal above 30. So then you see the end turn button. It is now green. That means there are no more actions I can take, so we'll push that. And now it becomes my enemy's turn, and he's going to play an Elven Archer and he's going to destroy that. Because the Elven Archer has an effect. Oh, whoa, he drew another one. The Elven Archer has an effect, Battle Cry. Again, remember that means whenever this enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage. So he chose to deal 1 damage to our Voodoo Doctor, which killed it and makes us so angry. It makes us not like him anymore. So now I'm going to play the Kobold Geomancer, get that spell damage on the field. Also, you have hero powers here and here, which I think we'll look at next turn. Oh, maybe not, because we might. Thinking, what should we do? We could trade our Kobold Geomancer against his Bloodfin Raptor. His Bloodfin Raptor is much bigger and scarier. We could Voodoo Doctor to heal the Kobold Geomancer, but that's not really a good play because you see the Kobold Geomancer's max health is 2, so if we were to heal him, he'd just go back up to 2, and this guy can do 3 damage, so our little Geomancer is dead no matter what. We could Arcane Explosion, deal 2 damage to him, and then that would clear, well, it would kill it, and so then we could attack his hero. We can attack his hero just around this, we don't have to attack it, but it's pretty smart to clear the board. Also, we could Novice Engineer to draw a card, or we could just use our hero power, and every hero is different. So there's 9 different heroes, and each one has a different ability. So we'll just go ahead, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and trade, because I feel like that's a good trade there. Play him. Ooh. And then I'm going to play the Mana Worm. And the Mana Worm, well, the Novice Engineer had the text, whenever this enters the battlefield, draw a card, and then we drew a Mana Worm, and the Mana Worm has the text, whenever you cast this spell, gain +1/+1. So whenever I would cast something like Arcane Explosion, or, ooh, he just plays Power Word Shield. He's now got a 3/5 on the field. Whenever I would cast a spell, he will gain +1/+1. Or +1 attack, not +1/+1. So, now we gotta figure out how can we destroy that. We could play another Kobold Geomancer, and then Arcane Explode, which would do 2 damage, and then by Arcane Exploding, we're gonna have, this guy will gain +1. We could play the Ogre Magi, get nice and big and beefy. Fee-fi-fo, fiddly-fum. I really want to save that Arcane Explosion for whenever he has more creatures on the field, so that way it's got better effectiveness. And right now, like if we were to, say, play this spell damage, we've got this Ogre Magi in the field, right? And then if we were to play the Kobold Geomancer, then we'd have spell damage +2 on the field, so this Arcane Explosion would deal 3 damage. So we can go Kobold Geomancer, just like that. Now it's going to deal 3 damage. Boom. So that's going to pretty well kill everything. Then we can trade our Ogre Magi against here. Our Ogre Magi will live with 1 health, in which we can drop the Voodoo Doctor to heal it. And now he's got 3 health out of his 4. And there we go. That's our turn. See, it's fun. It's brilliant. So now I'm going to pick up the pace, and I'm going to be going double time. Gurobashi Berserkers are kind of scary. We got a polymorph. Gurobashi Berserker says, whenever this minion takes damage, gain 3 attack. So every time he takes damage, he's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And because he's got a priest, or because he's playing a priest, he can just continue to make it take damage, heal it. Take damage, heal it. And it can get huge. So we're not going to let that happen. So we're going to do kind of a standard combo here. It's pretty gnarly. We're going to polymorph him to transform him into a 1/1 sheep. And that took 4 of our mana down here. And then we are going to Fire Blast it, which does 1 damage. So bam, and now it's dead. And then we can trade all of our baddies, or all of our little minions there. Go, my henchmen! Against his mate, or against his hero, his priestly hero. So you see how he just hero powered to heal his hero there. And then he dropped a 3/5 with Taunt. Now what's interesting about Taunt is I can't attack his hero anymore. I have to attack the minion with Taunt, which means I'm required to attack this. So you saw how I can select where everything goes, but now I'm being forced to do this. So that's basically what Taunt does. But luckily, we just top decked the Fireball. This isn't necessarily the best play, but it works. So we can destroy him there, get that out on the field, and then just start going to town. So now we have our own Taunter. So if he wants to attack, say, our Ogre Magi, he's going to have to first kill our Taunt. But spells, interestingly, maybe we should have saved that Fireball. Spells, you don't have to necessarily attack the taunter. You can attack with spells wherever you want. So some more interesting stuff to look at. Oh, how much damage do we have this turn? 1, 4 makes 5, 2 makes 7, 9, 10. We have 10 damage on the field. 12 plus this, so we have 11. So we don't want to attack that because it's just gonna get big and scary and we don't want to have to deal with it. So now he's got 2 health. We're so close. We're so close. We're hoping that he doesn't draw a holy nova. So some stuff that you need to be aware about the field as well is each Shadow of Pain. It's not gonna save you, buddy. Your mana is down here. You don't have to draw mana like you would in Magic the Gathering. What happens is every turn you get 1 more mana crystal added, and then your mana resets. So if I were to use 7, actually this is going to end the game. So no, is that all minions? Yeah, it's minions, so we'll be fine. So if we use this 7 mana here, it's going to deal 6 damage to all enemy minions, and it's got +2 because we've got 2 spell damage dudes on the board, so normally that would do 4 damage. And see, now we're down to 7, we're missing 7 mana, so we've got 2 left. Now if we were to end turn, the next time that it would come around to our turn again, we would have 10 mana, which is the most mana that you'll ever get, and then it'll reset and we'll have access to all 10 mana again. So again, let's hero power, and then we can hit him for 2 to take him to 1, and then let's hit him for 4 to take him to -3. And there you go, that is the basics of Hearthstone. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at the 15 packs. I bought them just for you guys. This is where I justify my purchase by pushing it onto you to make it. Anyways, let's go ahead and start opening some boosters. Okay, so we're in the booster screen opening place now. What I wanted to do with this is I wanted to give you a good cross section of the cards. And so this is, again, how I justify my purchase. Because the game is free to play. I wanted to do this so that way you would get a good cross section of the cards, so that way you would be able to see the combos that you can do. You would be able to understand more of the game. You'd be able to see, like if I were to just go through my cards, you would only see the cards I was interested in, the cards that I bought, the cards that I crafted, stuff like that. And so by doing it this way, I'm going to get a random selection, which hopefully will be a good cross section of the cards in Hearthstone. So again, we've got classes. There are class cards, which are only can be used by those classes. So we got some interesting cards here. Bite, give your hero +4 attack and +4 armor for this turn. Unleash the Hounds, which is a really good hunter card, give your beast +1 attack and charge. Ardent Squire is a good card with a 1 mana for a 1/1 with Divine Shield. Divine Shield basically says that the first time you would take damage, negate that damage. Wind Fury Harpy is a good card. Wind Fury says you can attack twice per turn, so you saw how each creature can only attack once per turn. If they have the effect Wind Fury, they can attack twice per turn, which is really good. And the Defias Ringleader is a good rogue card, 2 mana for a 2/2 that also can summon a 2/1 Bandit. Those are some pretty solid cards. We didn't get any jump cards out of those. Shazam! What we get this time? Malagos, 9 mana for a 4/12. That's a legendary. That's a pretty good pick. Betrayal is a really good rogue card. An enemy minion deals its damage to the minions next to it. So if you had a card here, if that was a creature, if this Betrayal was a creature, he would go BAM! BAM! And smack the creatures right next to it for damage. Stampeding Kodo is a 5 mana for a 3/5 battle cry. Destroy a random enemy minion with 2 or less attack. Wrath is a really good druid card. For 2 mana, deal 3 damage to a minion, or for 2 mana, deal 1 damage to a minion and draw a card. So that's a pretty good. Multiple uses are always nice. And then a young Dragonhawk works really good in hunter decks. We're doing all right. The Stampeding Kodo is an card, but that's the only card we've really got so far. Let's see, a Kidnapper, a 6 mana for a 5/3 combo. Whenever a rogue card says combo, it means that it has to, well, it says on the screen there, combo, a bonus if you already played a card this turn. So it has to be the second card that you play. And then if it is the second card, return a minion to its owner's hand, which is kind of cool. Cruel Taskmaster is a really good warrior card. Battle Cry, remember that means whenever he enters the battlefield, deal 1 damage to a minion and give it +2 attack. That can be dual usage. See, this is where it starts to get interesting, and now you're seeing the combos. I know you are. Deal 1 damage means you could just kill your opponent's creature if it only has 1 health. Or, let's say, you remember that Gurubashi Berserker, the card that said we were scared that that priest had in that bot game we just did? Remember how it said, whenever this guy takes damage, give him +3 attack? Well, you do this. You deal 1 damage to him and give him 2 attack, and then his own effect says whenever he takes damage, give him +3 attack. Bam! You just pinged him for 1 damage and gave him 5 attack. You just made your own dude huge. And so that's a pretty cool combo that you can do. Lightning Bolt is a shaman card that's pretty good. You remember Wrath from earlier, how Wrath was 2 mana to deal 3 damage? Well, this is 1 mana to deal 3 damage, but Overload, which is a shaman-specific mechanic, and Overload basically says you have X less mana next turn. So basically you have to pay for it this turn, and then you have to pay the Overload cost for it next turn. So they tend to be cheaper, but then they kind of spread out their cost over multiple turns. Some people really like them because it allows you to play really quick, but some people also don't like it because it also slows down your late game. Jungle Panther is a really good card. 3 mana for a 4/2 with stealth. Stealth basically meaning that he can't be targeted, not by anything, except for like random effects and AoE effects. This is the magic number 4, as I like to refer to this as, and we'll talk about the magic number 4 maybe in another video. And then Headcrack, 3 mana, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero, combo, return this card. Ooh, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero, and then if it was the second card that you played, you get it back. Nifty. Shabam bam, bam. Abusive Sergeant, Battle Cry, give a friendly minion +2 attack this turn, 1 mana for a 2/1, not bad. We'll come back to the Ancient Watcher. 1 mana for Noble Sacrifice, which is kind of like a trap card if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 mana, Noble Sacrifice, Secret. When an enemy attacks, summon a 2/1 defender as the new target. So you would play this, your opponent does not know what it is, and then whenever the condition is met, in this case, it is when an enemy attacks, so there's the condition, summon a 2/1 defender as the new target. So there you go. Cult Master is a pretty good card. 4 mana for a 4/2. Whenever one of your minions dies, draws a card, and it's got that magic number 4 attack again. And then Circle of Healing for 0 mana. Restore 4 health to all minions, a priest card. Healing in this game, if you've ever played any other card games, is kind of meh. It doesn't really change your win conditions. It doesn't... I don't know how to explain that better. It doesn't change anything. If you're taking a lot of damage and you heal through it, you haven't really done anything to stop taking that damage. And that damage is just going to hit you again. It might buy you a turn or 2, but it's not really going to overall affect the gameplay in a way that dropping a Blizzard would. 5 mana to deal 2 damage to all enemy minions and freeze them. Freezing them basically says that they can't do anything on their next turn. Temple Enforcer, 6 mana for a 6/6. Battlecry, give a minion +3 health. That's alright. It's a really expensive card. Young Dragonhawk, 1 mana for a 1/1 Wind Fury. We already talked about what that does. The Mr. Dude of Pain, 3 mana for a 1/3. Whenever a minion takes damage, draw a card. That's alright. That's a good way to really cycle your deck. And then the Imp Master is a really good card. 3 mana for a 1/5. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to this card and summon a 1/1 Imp. So, especially if you're on a healer or on a priest, you can just keep healing that and it'll just keep summoning imps for you. It's a pretty good card. can swarm your board, freak out your opponent. He's like, I don't know what to do with all these imps. Ooh. Wow, we got a gold out of that. That's pretty cool. Eviscerate, 2 mana, deal 2 damage. If it's comboed, deal 4 damage instead. Another Young Dragonhawk. Mad Bomber, 2 mana, 3/2. Battlecry, deal 3 damage, randomly split between all characters. This is kind of like an Anarchy card, because you drop it, and it can deal 3 damage, well, it goes 1/1/1. It pings 3 things, and it can double up. It deals a total of 3 damage, 1 at a time, to random creatures. It can deal it to itself. All other characters, so it can't deal it to itself. I'm sorry, I lied. I'm a liar. And so he just kind of throws bombs around, and he can kill you. Let's see, 6 mana for a 5/5. Battlecry frees a character. That's pretty cool. So you just get to freeze something whenever he enters the battlefield. Gadgetzan Auctioneer, 5 mana for a 4/4. Whenever you cast a spell, draw a card. That's nice because it lets you cycle your deck. And gold cards are kind of like the foil cards of this game, if you've ever played a card game or collected cards. Yeah. Kind of Cold is an alright card. Freeze a minion and the minion next to it, and deal 1 damage to them. Not too bad. Warlock, Power Overwhelming. 1 mana to give a minion 4/4 until the end of the turn. Then it dies. Horribly. Pretty cool card. Doomsayer, 2 mana for a 0/7. At the start of your turn, destroy all minions. That's pretty crazy. Ventrico Mercenary. Your minions cost 3 more, but he's a 5 mana for a 7/6. So he's really cheap for a 7/6, but his downfall to make him balanced and fair is everything else that you would go to play costs 3 more mana, which is really expensive. And then the Leopard Gnome, 1 mana for 2/1. Death Rattle. Death Rattle is when he dies. So when this card dies, deal 2 damage to the enemy hero.